Today on Design, Build, and Fix, another video on our kitchen remodel series. This one's going to focus on how to remove and install a garbage disposal. If you like the content, make sure you click the subscribe button in the lower right hand corner and don't forget to hit the notification button. Alright, so let's show you how to get this thing done. So the first thing you're going to want to do once you start doing any plumbing work is to always shut off the water supply lines. Those are going to be quarter turns or multi-turns. They're usually located in the back. And once those are off, you can start taking everything else apart. Now in this situation, I'm completely remodeling the whole kitchen. So the sink base is coming out. Everything's coming out. The only thing this is going to stay is the supply lines in the back. And in your situation, if you're just replacing the garbage disposal, you're probably going to have to be replacing some of this PVC anyways, because the output of your new garbage disposal might not match up with the output of your drains that you currently have. And so I would try it just to see, but ultimately I think you're going to have to be doing some fixing anyway. So I'm going to be completely taking everything out. Now in this situation, you're going to find here a little bit later, I actually had to replace the out where the drain goes into the wall because we put a deeper bowl sink in and they plumbed the drain a little bit too high, so it wasn't draining. So I had to fix that also. You'll see that here a little bit later. But in your situation, just replacing these things is going to be a huge plus. Now I am not a big fan of how this sink was plumbed in the first place. I truly believe that a garbage disposal should go into its own trap and then go into a Y as it goes into the wall. That's because if your garbage disposal clogs up, you still have another drain that actually kind of works. Now, once we take that PVC that comes out of the garbage disposal into the other drain, you're going to find that there's going to be a considerable amount of buildup in there, and that's not actually good. So we're going to rip everything out. All you have to do is just twist those nuts. They come right off and everything comes right out. Now the next thing is you're going to find behind everything there's a pipe, and that used to be the drain for the dishwasher, which used to be next to it. And we're going to cut that completely out because this garbage disposal has a place for the dishwasher to drain into, so that was never used, so that's coming out completely also. Now once you got the plumbing off so it exposes the drain as it goes into the wall, you're definitely going to want to make sure you plug that up with either a towel right away or grab yourself a commercially made plug that goes in there. I'll probably plug it a little bit later, but you're definitely going to want to stick a towel in there to keep those sewer gases from coming back up and in. Alright, so to remove the PVC that comes out of the garbage disposal, it's just held on with two nuts. There's one over on each side, and just a flathead screwdriver should take those out pretty easily. And we are going to be reusing this garbage disposal because it is relatively new. So I want to make sure that I put those back in so we don't lose them. And now that the pipe is coming off, you're definitely going to see how much stuff is actually going to be inside there because it wasn't really plumbed correctly. So this PVC pipe that's here used to be the drain line for the dishwasher that was to the left of the sink. It hasn't been used in years just because they didn't need it with the garbage disposal being installed. So we're just going to cut that out. So now what we want to do is disconnect the drain line for the dishwasher. That's being held on by a straight head screwdriver. Just going to back that out, pull this off. A lot of times there's a loop in here and it actually loops up. So I'm really basically pull it out from the back. And there's the drain line for the dishwasher. I'm going to really just push that all the way out to the side. All right, so now we have to get rid of the garbage disposal. So up here there's going to be little holes, and there's a wrench that comes with it, but I don't see one. Just take a regular screwdriver, put it in that hole, and pull it, turn it. That's going to loosen that ring, which has caused your garbage disposal to come out. Now we're not done with the garbage disposal. We have a wire we got to get rid of. So for the garbage disposal, this was an afterthought. So they basically ran the power up through the floor into this box with a switch, and if you wanted to use the garbage disposal, you literally open the door, turn the switch on. When you're done, turn it off, which is fine. Newer homes, it's going to be above the countertop, but right now it's below in the cabinet. So in order to fix this and get this out, we're going to have to go to the basement and shut off the breaker for it. It should be on its own circuit. If not, we'll have to hunt it out and find out where it is. So the power's been shut off to the garbage disposal. First thing we have to do to disconnect the power to it is that screw right there has got to come out. That's the Phillips head. That's going to allow this panel to come off. So before you disconnect the electric from any appliance, you're definitely going to want to make sure you turn off the circuit breakers, but you're also going to want to make sure that you have a tester like this one here that's going to allow you to test to see if the circuit breaker that you turned off or the switch that you turned off actually turned the power off to the device, because the last thing you want to do is to have power there while you're working on it. Those testers are only a few bucks. Basically all you're going to do is you're going to turn it on by pressing the button, and you're going to push it next to the wire, and if there's power on it, it will definitely beep. So now that you've verified that the power is off, all you have to do is take all the wires out, basically disconnect the wire nuts, and then those are all disconnected. And then you're going to go down to the Romex connector that's down there, unscrew the 2 screws that are on there, pull the wires out, and the garbage disposal is disconnected. So now we got to take this off, which is the connector for our garbage disposal. There's going to be 3 threaded rods in there. There's one there, and one there. There is a regular head slot in there with a screwdriver, so you're just going to back those out. That's going to loosen those up. Right there's going to be a clip ring that holds everything together. Just take a flathead screwdriver, pull it down, and once you pull it down, this clip ring is going to come off. There's the clip ring. It's going to hold this part on, and that comes right off. Now, if you're just replacing your garbage disposal and you don't want to replace the basket that goes with it, you don't have to do the next couple steps, because the new garbage disposal will clip right back onto that drain basket that you currently have. However, if you are replacing your garbage disposal, I would highly recommend you put a new basket in there. This part slides right off. Push this up, and your strainer is out. So now it's time for us to install our garbage disposal. And the way the garbage disposal works is this piece here gets plumber's putty under here, and that goes through the sink just like we did a regular strainer. All this other stuff goes under the sink, and we have to put that in. Now, what's going to happen here is this piece and this piece is going to get screwed tight with these screws up to the bottom of the sink. Then what's going to happen is this piece here, which is attached to the garbage disposal on these little slide things here, this ring right here is tapered up, and what it does is it slides on it. Now if you can see it, I'll do it right here. It slides up and down on that, which causes it to be tight or loose underneath your sink. Our next step is to take this off. And the easiest way to take this off is this right here is a retainer clip. Just take a flathead screwdriver and pry it in here like this. it's going to push it out just like that and take it all the way around, and it comes right off. Once that comes off, this piece will come off, and then this piece will also come off. Set them on just like they came off. Now at this point, it's time for us to install this in our kitchen sink, and that's going to have, and this has been reused. We're reusing the old dish or the garbage disposal from the previous one, so there's some plumber's putty still left on there. We'll scrape that off. So installing plumber's putty, what you're going to want to do is to take enough out of the can, and you're going to want to work it together just to get it to be malleable a little bit more because it's been sitting there a while. And then what you're going to do is run it between your hands back and forth to make it into a like a snake-like, and make sure that you have enough to go all the way around the ring. If you don't, you'll have to keep adding more to it, but you definitely want to make sure that you have enough to wrap it all the way around. All right, so you're going to keep adding more plumber's putty to it, keep working it, roll it, roll it, roll it in order to get it to go all the way around. And you want to make sure that that at least overlaps a little bit. Do whatever it takes to get it to more like a snake like feature, and then apply it to your ring. Now that it's applied to your basket, all you're going to do is to mush it around so it kind of goes at an angle so it fills that whole area up, and then it's ready to be applied to your sink. So now that the basket has been installed into the sink, you're going to take your piece that looks like a triangle, and you're going to slide it all the way up to the bottom of the sink, and then take the other piece that has the 3 threaded rods on it and make sure you orientate it so that the threaded rods fall right at each corner. And at this point, it's now ready to have the retainer clip installed. And remember, that just slides on. You get one side on and push it around, and it should clip right into place. It is a tight quarter, so sometimes it takes a little bit of time. But once you get one side on, the other side should just clip right in and snap right on. So now that you have installed the clip ring, you're now going to want to readjust the basket in the opening for the sink, because it does get moved around a little bit as you're putting that clip ring on. All right, so now what you want to do is to take the 3 threaded rods that are there and just kind of screw it up with your fingers to get that to get relatively tight. And then you're going to want to make sure that you put a screwdriver on that to tighten those things down. But before you actually tighten those down with a screwdriver, you're going to want to make sure that you rotate the triangle on there so it doesn't impede on the bracket that we have that holds the sink in place. Now, we use the Hercules sink bracket on there for our granite countertop that we have, and the last thing we want to do is to pinch that, and so we want to rotate that around. Now what you're going to do is tighten this down so it's absolutely tight, and that's going to hold your garbage disposal in place. So now what we want to do is to take the garbage disposal and actually push it up to the bottom part of the sink and make sure that the clip is to the left of that tapered section that we showed you before, and then you're going to actually make sure that clip right there slides right onto that tapered portion, and you're going to want to tighten that thing down. But you want to make sure that all 3 clips are attached, because it's very easy to get one side attached and the other sides are not. So make sure they're all attached, and once they are, then you're going to push a screwdriver into that opening right there and tighten it down, just like we loosened it up earlier in the video. Now, the next thing you want to do before you get this really, really tight is you want to make sure you twist the garbage disposal so that the outlet for the water that comes out of it is in the direction that you want it to go. Now that it's orientated the correct way, just reach up there with your hand and tighten the best you can, then put a screwdriver in that opening and spin it until it doesn't go any further. You don't have to get it crazy tight as long as it's tight. So now we're ready to attach our drains. We have our strainer basket in and we have our garbage disposal in. One of the things I need to share with you is, for the past 25 years of me doing this, if I'm plumbing in a garbage disposal, I almost always make sure I use a Y for the drain assembly. And here's the reason why. If the garbage disposal were to clog up, you still have the use of your other sink to wash things up, and you still have the use of the other sink. The other thing that you have to be aware of is that a Y is a part that can actually go on its side. All right, so if you're looking at it, it can go on its side like this. All right, A T cannot. So therefore, I almost always use a Y, because a Y is better than a T, because what happens is in a Y, the water actually comes in and automatically gets diverted that direction, where a T, it actually comes down and partially splashes against this and then goes in the direction that it needs to go. So a Y is actually better. A T cannot go on its side. A T has to go like this, up and down. So I always use a Y. So we're going to put this Y right here, and when I put the Y in, I'm going to make sure that the Y part of it, this part here for the garbage disposal, is not level, but slightly higher than this side, and that's going to allow for better draining. All right, and so the other thing that we're going to do now is we have to dry fit everything together. This is plumbing, and whenever you do plumbing, you're always going to make multiple trips to the store, so I want to make sure I have all the parts and pieces that I need before I go make this trip, so I don't make multiple trips. So this is going to go in here like this. We're going to have a tail piece that comes out of here. That looks like that's going to go into here. I already have an adapter that goes in there. This looks like that's going to fit in just about right. Now when we come on this side for the garbage disposal, we're probably going to have a piece of pipe coming out, and I already have an adapter for it here. Now one of the things I need to share is all of these trap assembly pieces are the 1.5 inch size, not the 1.25 inch. I always use the 1.5 inch. It gives you a little bit more ability to, drain stuff so it doesn't clog up. All right, so coming out of our garbage disposal, there's a piece that comes down, and that's going to come in here like this. Piece comes down. As a matter of fact, when we took this out, for some reason we didn't reattach the spout for it, so we're gonna have to go buy one. Not a big deal. Put that, it comes into here, and then this is gonna come up into here like this. Yeah, we're gonna have to deal with this issue. We're gonna see how that works, because that's pretty high. Our outlet is pretty high, so we're gonna see how this is gonna play out here shortly. So the process of dry fitting things is going to save you a little bit of time. What we realized before was we're going to put a Y on here like this, and by the time we put our tail piece on here, this will actually go very nicely into this part of the Y. That works out well. The problem that we're having is the outlet for our garbage disposal is really low compared to the height of our outlet. If you measure, let's go ahead and we put this on here like this. Let's just assume we can put it up as high as we can. And then we have our Y coming out of the wall. You can see, maybe you can't see, but we're about 2 inches. This is 2 inches too low for where it's going out of the wall. And you really can't put an extension on this, because that changes the height of your water in there. And therefore your water height's going to be in here, and you'll have water sitting in there forever, and it's going to stink. So that's not going to work.
All right, so let me take a moment here to explain why we're having the issue that we have. First and foremost, I believe that when the house was built, the drain line in the wall was placed a little bit too high. The other issue that we're having is that we had a above mount kitchen sink, which means it sat on top of the kitchen countertop, and we replaced it with a granite countertop and an undermount sink, which was actually a little bit deeper than the old sink, which caused everything to be lowered down. So right now we're about 2.5 inches below where we're supposed to be. Not that big of a deal, but that's the problem that we're actually going to be having.
So what is the fix? Well, unfortunately, we have to lower this down in the wall. So in order to lower that down, we're going to have to cut out the back of the cabinet, cut out the drywall, and this is already a T, which is what this is. This is a T which sits in the wall like this, because the top portion of it is the vent portion of it. The water drains into here and goes down into the into the sewer, so to speak, so it goes out of the house. What we have to do is lower this down to about here. That's not going to be a problem because we have our tailpiece that'll easily push that in there. So we have to cut the drywall, cut the back of the cabinet. We're going to have to cut the PVC pipe and then re-put this back in here. Now the good news is, in the basement where this pipe goes down, it actually turns and there's space underneath that so that we can take this bottom pipe and push it down to get it to go up into the bottom of this and glue it in so it works. So we got to get that done. It's unfortunate, but that's what happens when you do plumbing. It's not always a straightforward process. Alright, so we got our hole cut, drywall out, and we have our fitting cut out, top and bottom. We just went into the basement to make sure that this pipe is where it has to be in order to have a pitch, because we don't want to push that down too far and have negative pitch so it doesn't drain. So what I'm going to do, it's right there by the dot. I'm just going to draw a line, get that plastic paper out of the way. Draw a line to know that that dot has to be at the top of that drywall in order for it to work. So now what we're going to do, we're going to clean these things up, put our coupler on, measure the parts and pieces to get it to go together, work from our top down to get it to go to squeeze it together, and see how this thing comes out. Alright, so that fitting is connected, and looks like we're all going to be good to go. So let's get this thing finished up. Alright, so as you can see, our drain has been lowered. Definitely not pretty, but functional. Alright, so we got pretty much everything dry fit together. Looks like this is going to come out here. This will sit in here like that. Our height looks like it's going to work just like we want it, so let's go ahead and throw this thing together. Alright, so now all these pieces are dry fit together. Now, just so you know, one of the things that you're going to want to do is, of course, this piece started out as 12 inches long, and all I did was I took this tail piece here, kind of lined it up in the thing, held it here like this, and said, alright, well, you can go as long as it's below the threads. Down to that point there, you're in good shape. So I kind of eyeballed it, find out where I wanted it to be, and we cut it, got that to place. Now this one, the tail piece, can only go in so far to this because there's a little lip. So I kind of put this on here like this, put it like that, and looked at it and realized that, you know, if I cut it this long, I usually cut it longer, and then I come back and cut it smaller and smaller until it fits. So now this really slides in here like this. Of course, I'll have to take this apart to get that to come back on. And everything threads on like it's supposed to. So that means that this side is set. So now I had to deal with the Y side of it, which is the garbage disposal side. And so all I did is on the garbage disposal side, I cut a piece of 1.5 PVC about 8-9 inches long, put it in there, see how this fitting worked, line that up, and I worked it back to the point where I got it to be this size. Now the good news about the 1.5 inches and this fitting here is that this pipe can go considerably further into this pipe because there's no stop to it, because this bushing goes over the top of it. But we're going to cut it short anyways. We're going to cut it somewhere in here. because as soon as it gets out of here, this pipe gets considerably bigger and there's less chance of your 1.5-inch PVC pipe plugging than your 1.5-inch this, because it's considerably a little bit bigger. So we're going to cut this one, and this is how I did it. I kind of lined it up and said, all right, we're going to cut it right about there, which is going to get us just inside that PVC. And we're going to get that cut, and we're going to show you how to put all these things together. So the one thing you're going to want to do when you put this Y on its side is make sure that this side is a hair higher than that side. That's going to prevent anything from backing up and flowing backwards into it like this. So if you really plug it up, it's going to flow back no matter what. But I always like to put my Ys on the side, so this side's a little bit higher than that side. And so what I've done is I've marked my Y on my pipe, and I'll show you what it looks like. So I've taken it out and I have lines on my pipe, so I know exactly from where I'm sitting those should line up and it should work. So let's go ahead and get this thing glued together. So when you put this tailpiece on, you got to make sure you put this seal on the top. So it goes on the top and this gets pushed on like that.
So your last step is to go through and make sure all of those nuts on your drain lines are nice and tight, so when you turn the water on, you're not going to have any leaks. So this is how you're going to remove and replace a garbage disposal, and how you're going to replace the plumbing for that new garbage disposal so you don't have any issues later down the road. So your final step in installing your garbage disposal is, if you bought a brand new one, you're going to have to make sure that where the dishwasher gets attached, which is this right here, you're going to want to make sure that you take a flathead screwdriver and a hammer and pound out the little piece of plastic that's in there that prevents water from leaking out if you don't have a dishwasher installed. We have a dishwasher that's going to be installed on here, and so if you brought a brand new one, you're going to have to pound that out. This one, we're just reusing the old one, so no need to pound it out because it's already out. All you're going to do now is just hook up that gray hose, clamp it down, and your garbage disposal is complete.
Alright, well, thanks for watching. More videos coming out shortly on the kitchen remodel. Alright, if you like the content, help me out. Click the subscribe button in the lower right hand corner of the screen. Alright, we'll see you on the next one.